Today's podcast is sponsored by Fire Facilities Incorporated, expert engineers, designers, and manufacturers of steel training towers, burn rooms, and mobile units that are all made in the USA. Welcome back to 3 Point Firefighter. Today's guest is Captain Rob Ramirez. He has been a student of the fire service for 22 years. He holds a degree in fire science. He's a Fire Instructor II, a Fire Officer II, Safety Officer, and a Live Fire Training Officer. Now, since 2006, he has served as a Rescue Team Manager for the Department of Homeland Security's F.E.M.A U.S.A.R Florida Task Force 2. He has been on many high-profile deployments, including Hurricane Katrina and the Haiti earthquake. Rob is the lead instructor for Fire, Military, and Special Ops for National Rescue Consultants, an all-hazards national training company based out of West Palm Beach, Florida. He is a founder of the Firefighter Advanced Survival Techniques program, and he has taught at numerous fire conferences, and he's getting ready to go to a conference here next week, I just found out. Brother Rob Ramirez, thank you for being on my show.
Thanks for having me on, Jake, brother. Happy to be here. I'm looking forward to having a good time with you, and thank you for the kind words.
Let me ask you this right off the bat. You love LUNAR. It's your favorite acronym, and you teach it constantly. Am I right?
You're absolutely wrong.
That look on your face.
I was like, wait, we didn't talk about this in the pre-show. That's amazing.
I jumped in. I think you and I think the same thing about LUNAR. When LUNAR came out, just like all acronyms in the fire service, it served a purpose, but I think it was a seed and not the plant. And I think what we got today is the plant. We talked a little bit about basil, and I've heard you speak about LUNAR, what you use instead of LUNAR. So let's jump into that.
Okay. Now I'm going to have to circle back and start from the original, the answer behind the why. The answer behind the why for me, the reason I don't like LUNAR, instead of just like bashing it, I don't want to be one of those guys that, oh, look, he's bashing LUNAR too. I love what you said. It was a seed, not the plant. We've been dealing with some form of RIT since 2001. Here we are 20 years into some form of formalized RIT training. And yes, like everything else in the fire service, man, some things change, some things don't. RIT was one of those things that was born 20 years ago and has been real slow to progress. We never really got a training module for it. And the guys that originally wrote it in 01 meant well. God bless their hearts, They really wanted to create something the fire service can follow to make us better. They had no bad intention behind it, but it's outgrown its purpose. On a technical level, Jake, it worked. Guys memorized this acronym. They knew what they had to say. They called it Mayday. But what happened through the evolution of RIT is that we ignored the human element associated with an actual Mayday.
Yes.
That human element, which is stress and fear and anxiety and all the other little things that happen during the fight or flight biological response to our bodies, because we're all human before we're firefighters, wasn't part of the original plan. And LUNAR just doesn't work. When you're in a knife fight in an elevator, which is what I compare to Mayday to. If I'm calling Mayday and I got 3,000 pounds of lath ceiling on my back, my mask is knocked off my face, and now you're asking me to do trigonometry and remember acronyms when I can barely do 2 + 2 = 4 at that point. And that's what LUNAR comes down to. So I just want to teach our guys where you're at, what you need, and what happened. We're coming to get you. And from that point forward, communications become Jake and Rob, not Firefighter Engine 6, Alpha, and Main Street Command. Right. You know what I mean?
It should be, in my opinion, the second a Mayday is called, it becomes a very intimate thing between incident commander and the person that's trapped. And it should be treated as such. It's not, you only gave me LN and, AR, whatever. No. It's like, hey, Rob, calm down. Tell me what's going on.
Exactly.
And I've heard you say this too. And this is very interesting because I never really thought about it until I heard you say it. Get as many people in there as possible. And my mindset prior to that was try to limit people in there, but it makes sense. The more people you got in there, the more your chances of surviving go up.
Jake, I love that you said that. So this morning, just coincidentally unplanned, we had a countywide. I'm in South Florida, in the county between Palm Beach and Dade. So we had a countywide RIT committee meeting where a bunch of the decision makers sat together and talked about that. And that was the topic of conversation. How do the chief officers feel about pulling people to a different channel when the Mayday is called, automatically removing the crews operating in suppression and truck activities and EMS to a separate channel from the RIT team, the RIT officer or the incident commander and the down fireman. The conversation went real well. There's two schools of thought to it, right? The old school school of thought is what we were taught before, which is automatically get everybody on a separate channel. We can keep doing suppression, truck engine activities and EMS over there, and then leave the RIT crew with the RIT officer and the incident commander. And if you have extra bodies to assign a RIT chief officer in charge of that, you can leave all of those guys on one channel. Mm-hmm. But then what happens is that the data, the data, tomato, right. The data tells us the more people I leave in that building, the more chance of survival I have. Because I may have just walked by Engine 2. I may have been working with the firefighter and on my crew that knows exactly where I'm at. Engine 2 knows that I'm operating in a room just past them. So keeping Engine 2 on the radio, keeping my firefighters that are with me on the same channel, was going to benefit and increase my survivability based on the data. The data has been telling us the people inside the building with you are directly associated to your survivability. I think the number of rescues, the exact number from 2015 to 2020 is 88% at this time. 88% of Maydays were resolved by people already in the building.
Right.
Okay. So that's huge. That's a huge number. If you freaking tell me that I can drive down to the casino tomorrow and that casino down the street from me has an 88% chance of hitting money, you couldn't find parking in that place on a Tuesday afternoon. We're dealing with lives. We're dealing with lives, bro. We got to train for that. And so I'm from the school of thought that if Jake is the incident commander, I call a Mayday. Keep me and everyone else on that channel as long as possible until you identify the non-essentials. And then at that point, you can switch them over. But keep everyone around me on the same channel because they're going to come get me. I saw another call not too long ago, last summer, and I listened to a lot of Maydays and try to do as much research as possible to stay with the times. And it was and again, I'm not ever talking bad about a department, what they're doing or anything, but a department up in the Northeast had a senior captain fall into the basement last summer. Mm-hmm. He was on the radio telling him what he needed to get out. He was on the radio telling him exactly where he was. They deployed RIT teams. They kept everyone on the same channel. But in my opinion, they kept everyone on the same channel too long because of the human element. I listened to that transmission, and for 26 minutes, that firefighter in the basement was listening to companies go arrival, talk about hydrant, water supplies, cutting down fences, water stretching lines, EMS units parking. Dude, if I'm in a knife fight in an elevator and you guys are coming to get me, I don't need to listen to any of that noise pollution.
Right.
Because that is doing nothing for my heart rate. That is doing nothing for my mindset. And it's going to keep me in a victim mentality. Like, they're not talking about me. Who's coming to get me? Why are they talking about LZs and helicopters on the same channel I'm on?
Right.
So at some point, we do have to switch channels. It's going to be up to the company officer or the chief officer running the RIT to decide when that's going to happen. But it shouldn't be an automatic. Long answer.
No, it's perfect. I've noticed that, and tell me if I'm wrong about this, after the Brett Tarver incident and the 2 in, 2 out, the precursor to RIT and RIC, it was a very knee-jerk emotional response to what happened. And then now it seems like fast forward to where we're at the past few years, and now it's a very data-driven environment where some of the stuff that we thought of before probably isn't the best idea. Now, going to what you said, we got the data. We know exactly how to respond to this. But after you say you do switch the radio channels, I'm switching gears. I'm jumping all over the place. After you do switch the radio channels and you know pretty much where they're located, you know what they need, and you know you got people going in after them, would it not be a good idea for Incident Commander Barnes to talk to Firefighter Ramirez and just keep him calm, talk about anything but firefighting stuff at that point? Because I know you want to keep the heart rate down. You want to keep him out of that lizard brain as much as possible, and just try to conserve air if he's got the air there. Would that not make sense?
100%. First and foremost, you're pulling at my heartstrings. I love the conversation. It's probably one of the best podcasts I've done in a long time. So,
and you have a podcast.
I know, yeah. But I'm like, I do what you do on mine. I have to tell. Yes, I'm catering to the guests. Anyhow, yes. The answer is yes. Why? Because, again, it goes back to the data. We have data available now, whether it's NFPA reports, whether it's a UL, NIOSH, Project Mayday. We build I say we. Whenever we build our training programs, I build my training programs, and it's all data-driven and street-vetted. It needs to be easily reproduced and efficient under stress. So the answer to your question is, after you and I start talking, which is what we talked about in the opener, is listen, you're not Engine 6 Firefighter Alpha who's talking to them, who's calling them Mayday. You're Jake Barnes, and I'm talking to you, and I'm Rob. I'm not the incident commander or vice versa. Why? The data tells me that 26% of the time, the Mayday is going to be resolved by me. Okay? You're going to send me another 6%, which is going to be the RIT team. Actually, 6.6%, the RIT team. So you're increasing miles. I'm up to 32% survivability right now. Now you're going to have the people around me come get me too. So all I'm doing is adding money and percentages to the members' survivability to get out of that bad situation. Now, why is it important for me to become Rob and you to become Jake? So IC and down firefighter, because you got to get me back in the fight.
Right.
My mindset needs to get me back in the fight. If I'm in constant victim mode and I'm just reacting to the environment around me, I'm a counter puncher. I haven't taken control of the situation and haven't been able to pull my training out of my hard drive. And I always give the example of my dog. Right, have a little dog. He's a little furball. Doug is his name. Douglas Arthur. My girl likes to name him freaking people names. Down the street, right down the street, we have another dog, our neighbor's dog. Anytime I take Dougie out on a walk, I don't know what happened between those two, but they meet at the fence and they go crazy. Tight leash. So I got my dog on the leash. I'm pulling him back. I'm like, Doug. Doug doesn't listen because he's in full fight or flight. He wants to eat Max, the other dog.
Right.
So I can call him 20 times and his leash is tight, right? He is not hard of hearing because at 2 a.m, I open a bag of chips downstairs and he's down on my foot on a sprint from a dead sleep. So he's got perfect hearing. Right. But he's sleeping and breathing and doing all that thing that animals do and humans do. The goal for the incident commander, for that down fireman, is to loosen his leash. Just like Dougie, he needs to loosen his leash. How do you loosen his leash? By getting him out of that fight or flight mode. Mm-hmm. Hey, Rob, where you at, buddy? Well, how can you check your mask for me? Move your legs. Check, how's your airway? Where were you? Are you in a hose line? Is there fire around you? Can you see an opening? Can you see a window? Find your flashlight for me. Can you find it? Yeah. Set off your pass device, Rob. All right, good job. Turn it back off. Can you do that for me? Turn it off. Dude, I just turned my flashlight on. I told you where I was, and I shut my pass device off after you had me turn it on. You just gave me back two things. One, first and foremost, my ability to think for myself, and the most importantly, control of an uncontrollable situation. Something as small as turning my flashlight on and off is giving me control back, and I'm not in a state of reaction. So now I can get back in the fight, you loosen my leash, and I can start working on my self-survival, self-rescue, and get back that 26%, while you already send me a stack of guys who are coming to get me based on my last known location. And that has to be something we work on as a community.
You know, I've heard you talk about, too, how important just light is. Not just seeing what's around and what you might need to do, but lowering your heart rate, because we humans like to see stuff. We don't like to be in the dark.
100%. We're born with the gift of sight, right? We were all, the reason we do this job is because we were blessed and born with the gift of sight. So we take our entire world in through our eyes. Every single day we walk out of the house, you take the entire world in. You're driving, you're taking the world in. You're on a fire scene, you take the fire scene in. All of the arousal that happens in your body, the adrenaline release, the adrenaline dump, the breathing, everything happens first through the eyes and then through the ears, okay? And then through the nose. The nose is the strongest memory-driven sense that we have. You'll smell something you smelled 25 years ago, and it'll take you back to that day. Mm-hmm. But the eyes are the strongest right now sense that we have, which drives your entire lizard brain, pituitary gland, amygdala, and all the things that require you to survive. Basically, those things are driven by sight. So what happens when you take away visibility to people that are used to using them for every single day life? You don't suddenly become some freaking bat where you can use sonar signal to get to somebody's house, right? No, you suck. You suck. You immediately start to suck. And after 15 minutes in that situation, based on your training, some people longer, if you've been working around zero visibility for a long time, you're going to take longer to go through what they refer to as a disorientation sequence. Mm-hmm. All right. A zero visibility disorientation sequence was a study done back in 2001. All right. And this study told us, you put a member, any firefighter who has very little, zero visibility or limited visibility training in a closed box with a limited number of openings. And after 10 to 15 minutes on average, that member was going to start losing orientation of space, orientation of situation, orientation of direction and travel. So spatial awareness, directional awareness, all that starts going away and gradually eroding because we're so used to making decisions with our eyes first. So a flashlight, a little bit of light, a little bit of control. It's, and I joke around during, lectures and conversations, and I compare it to those reality TV shows where you have the people who get dropped in the woods and they're naked and they're afraid and everything's getting worse and getting bit by insects and drinking their own urine. And it all gets better after they get water and build a fire. That fire keeps the predators away. It gives them visibility at night. They can start boiling water. That flashlight is your fire. That is your quote unquote fire. When you're on your belly, when the mask is knocked off your face, when you can't move your left arm, but you can't move your right, you can reach your action area. Use that light wherever you guys carry it. Hopefully it's somewhere between your heads up display and your belt buckle, because that's all you're going to reach based on the data. And you're going to light it up and you're going to create that little cone of understanding where you are and gaining control of that space so that you can start your self-rescue process and go down that algorithm. Otherwise, being in the dark for too long is not good for anyone. I don't care how long you train in that. Unless you were born like Helen Keller, you're going to struggle.
Right.
You're going to struggle, bro.
I tell you, I have, when I train, I'm the training instructor for my department. When I train people, especially new recruits that seem to struggle with the constriction of spaces and the dark and all that stuff, and I've had a few people that switch into that lizard brain. They just ramp straight up into it. And one of the things that I'll do to try to snap them out is I will ask them very specific questions they got to think about. Like the last time was, what was the first car you ever owned? So they're all stressed out, and they immediately, you can see their eyes just change because they'll start thinking. They'll go, oh, it was a blue Camaro. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to keep moving through this SCBA confidence course. And then if I see it again, I'll ask something completely about that, but like, okay, so what was your second car, or what was your third car? Who was the first girl you ever took on a date? Blah blah blah, on down the road, and that seems to pull them out, if only for a few seconds. I can see where the giving them chores to do, the flashlight, the pass device, if they got a tool banging on something, I can see what you're saying. That gives them control. It shortens the time span of them just sitting there and worrying about it because they're actually part of their own rescue. And they're doing tasks to pull them out of that lizard brain. I think that's amazing. It's something I never really thought of till recently.
Man, tell you what, I love exactly what you're talking about. I haven't done that, but we've actually built little props with like PVC pipes, and we just use electrical tape to color the ends. So I'll have a 12-inch piece of PVC pipe capped with a green ends. Then I'll have one with blue ends and one with red ends. And then I'll get a 45 and I'll color code it just like the pipe. And I'll get them to where they're all razzle-dazzled, right? And then I'll stop them when I see them hit that red zone and be like, all right, listen, use your flashlight, find the green pipe, hook it up to the green 45. And there'll be different colors there. And they'll sit there and they'll start working a little minuscule task, but you'll watch that brain go from fight or flight to cognitive prefrontal cortex, 2 + 2 = 4 thinking, which is what we need as human beings to survive.
Absolutely.
It's been proven over and over and over again, We are no different than anyone else. I don't care if you're SEAL Team 6. I've said this a million times. Or if you're the best, saltiest seasoned firefighter to ever come out of the Bronx or Brooklyn, in the war years, you are human before you are a firefighter. And those little things we need to understand. And the program we teach now has morphed into more of a train the trainer, because my goal is to get, guys like you and guys like myself who are into training, who have a voice in our departments and our region, to do and conduct Mayday and rescue training and self-rescue training the right way. Because it's just not another skill. No other skill that we teach, Jake, involves human emotion.
Right.
And human emotion is our biggest obstacle. And it's the biggest orphan in survival and rescue training. Everyone ignores it. It's a redheaded stepchild in the room. Everyone focuses on the skill. Even the IAFF. The IAFF survival program is JV. And I'm not a fan of it, and I've said that a million times, right? It's built on a grant, and they mean well, but it doesn't address any of the human emotions, reaction, mindset, biology, and performance. It's strictly skill. Take your air pack off, SCBA emergencies, drags, carries, obstacles, Pittsburgh drill. I get it. But man, we do such a disservice with unrealistic training to our members. If you do nothing but unrealistic training, you're going to create false expectations of that member. And when he digs into that hard drive, God bless him, during his or her Mayday, and they pull those freaking files of unrealistic training, it's going to fail them. It's going to fail them. It's going to lead to poor decision making, and it's going to decrease their survivability. And shame on us if we're the messenger that gave them that false skill set, bro. Shame on us.
You make a lot of sense when you talk about the intimate component of it. And if you think about it, though, most runs we make are EMS. So there's a lot of skill stuff that you got to do in EMS, right? Like when it comes to intubating, starting IVs. But we all know if you've done EMS for any amount of time, holding somebody's hand and connecting with them in the eyes when they're at their most scared on the worst day of their life and you're just at work, doing that sometimes is more important and better than any technical skill you can use. It seems like that should translate very easily over into Maydays and RIT.
It really should. It really should. It's just that we're not there yet as a fire service, and it's a shame because the guys that I look up to, the giants in my Mayday, Mount Rushmore, the guys, the Jim McCormicks, the Rick Georges, the Paulie Capos, those are the guys that started talking about this when no one knew what it was, like talking about human behavior, mindset, performance, biology, RIT, drags, carries, things that we were just learning skills. We didn't understand the why behind the skill. Right. And I remember my first time I ever heard this back in 2009. I was like, man, this is going to be something I want to learn everything about. And it became my passion, and I swam in that lane until today. We're 12 years later, and I'm still learning when it comes to the Firefighter Rescue and Survival. That's because of those guys. There's
no, and I've said this before, there's no finish line and stuff like this. It's not like, Captain Ramirez is going to say, read a book and then close it and go, well, now I know everything about RIT and Mayday. There's not, it's you're going to see things, read things, listen to things. It's going to keep driving you. And I love what you said. You said, I do train the trainers. You're not trying to trademark what you do. You're not trying to make $1 million off what you do. You're trying to, just like everybody else has been on my podcast, they're all about getting the message out, however it's got to go out.
I've always said this, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart, man. I love the fire service. It took me a very long time. I am 42 years old. It took me a long time to realize and find balance between the fire service and family, because I love the fire service so much. I love firemen. I love everything about the firehouse. To this day, I'll come home and I'll just be driving home from work. I got a 20-minute drive. It's not that bad. And in 20 minutes, I'll sit there and think about my shift on the way home, and I'll giggle and laugh to myself, and I'll think to myself, and I'll be in awe of the things that these men do. It's because I care about firemen. So why do I even say that right now? Because if I can do anything at all to make sure that firemen go home to their families and have long, successful careers, that's what I'm going to do. That's why I don't run around and teach engine stuff unless it's in Orlando. All right. That's why, or a truck company stuff. I stay in my lane because I have to be passionate in order to take that much time away from my family and of myself. All we have is time. Mm-hmm. It's got to be something that I find value in. And there's nothing more valuable to me than firefighter rescue and survival and Mayday training, because I want every single member to go home to their family. If one thing I say, one little thing sticks in someone's mind, and 5 years later they use it in Indiana, and that guy goes home and he gets to walk his daughter down the aisle and die an old man in his bed, man, it made my entire career and my life worth it. That's the way I see it.
I couldn't agree more. And one of the things you said, well, let me back up a little bit. So here's what I see the problem when it comes to Maydays and RITs. Mayday is an ego-driven thing where people don't want to call a Mayday because they think they can get themselves out of it. Firefighters are the first one to help you, but they're the last person to ask for help. So I notice a lot of firefighters won't call that Mayday. And then when it comes to RIT, you got the people outside that see it as almost a punishment, where it's really the special forces of the fire service. Is if you're on RIT, there's so much you can do on the fire ground, soften the building, throw ladders, be extra eyes. You can even do door control depending on if it's an inlet or an outlet, as long as you're not wasting your air. There's so much you can do. And I wish I could get that across to people. But people always, inevitably, I hear, we've never had a RIT, a Mayday called, and blah, blah, blah. And you said, I think it was you had said, the shit that doesn't happen happens all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
100%.
Money.
Shit that never happens all the time. 100%.
Yeah.
We are the equivalent of a police officer's bulletproof vest for the fireground. Some guys will be a police officer 30 years and they'll never take a round to their chest. But the day that they do take a round, they're going to be happy they were wearing that vest.
Absolutely.
Right? That's us. The RIT teams are that person, like you just said, a proactive RIT team who's working and purposeful with meaningful action, understanding their roles and responsibilities is a home run. NFPA 1407, which was just revised for RIT training. It just came, in November of 19, so it's a 2020 version. And it breaks down exactly what NFPA now considers as important for RIT training. So in addition to 1710, which is now 20 years old, now it teaches you 1710 is the why, and now we're going to teach you the how. And so NFPA 1407 did a pretty good job of explaining what they need members to do nationwide. But again, like any other NFPA, it's written to the 50th percentile. So you're not going to get what you really need. You just mentioned specialized, right? Mm-hmm. Your members assigned to RIT need to understand that that is a huge, tremendous responsibility. And aside from sitting there, RIT used to stand for RIT, rectal insertion of thumb. You stand there with your thumb in your ass while all your buddies were getting after it. Like you were invited to the party, but you kind of weren't. You got to hang out outside. And every once in a while, Jake will walk out with a bunch of insulation on his helmet and his hook and be like, dude, you got to get in there, but you really can't. It's amazing. We're all having a great time. So no one wants to be that guy, but today's RIT teams need to understand that the fire ground is so dynamic and there's so much cool shit that you can do with a RIT team. Like I'll talk about my region, my part of the world, my little slice of the fire services in South Florida. We are getting hit by hurricanes every year. That's just what we do. We're getting near missed by hurricanes. Poor Louisiana, they get smoked every year. Yeah. But as far as Florida, we're built to that post-Hurricane Andrew construction standard. So like around 1993, 1994, the state of Florida adopted a concrete block and stucco, everything with lightweight construction roof. Excuse me. They encourage every homeowner through insurance to get impact glass on everything in the house. So the houses are built like fortresses to keep the heat in during the to keep the heat out during the summer, AC in, and then to protect you from hurricanes throughout the year. There is no consideration for the fire service. If we're coming to get you, if we're in the hood, we're taking burglar bars on every freaking house. And then if we're anywhere else, we're fighting impact glass. We're fighting impact glass is 1.5 thick with a laminate just like windshield in it. It's not easy to get through. Doors are recessed in stucco and mortar. So you're not forcing a door by kicking it or baseball swinging with a Halligan. That just doesn't happen down here because of the construction type. So what do I say that? Why do I say that? Because my part of the fire service, the RIT guys have so much proactive prevention stuff, setting the table for deployment that they can do throughout the call. So they still get some playtime. They still feel like they're effective. Throwing ladders, we encourage that for multifamily dwellings or single family, 2-story, 3-story homes. Mm-hmm. These are all things that we encourage. It's been beat up as far as training, but if you actually do it the right way, man, RIT can stay pretty busy throughout a fire. They really, really can.
Sure. And a good proactive RIT is just that. If they're doing and doing everything they can outside, they may not have a problem inside simply because of what they're already doing. They don't have to be a reactive aspect of the fire ground. So if they are looking at the windows and they're listening to the radio traffic and they know where the search is going on, where the hand line's going on. So if something happens and it's the truck company, let's say they're on the long side of it, well, they can go over there. They know they can do a window-initiated search. All the way around, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So the yard breathers that just sit out there with their pike poles, useless. I've seen it. I've done it. I've been RIT before, and I've been mad. I've been sitting out there, and I'd give anything to go back and kick myself in the nuts and go, okay, asshole, you're out here. You got equipment. There's windows there they could be jumping out of. Let's throw ladders. What's going on, on the 3 side? Let's go look at the 3 side. Let's see what's happening over here. And I didn't. I wasted a lot of opportunities. I was lucky that no one got hurt, but oh well. I guess that's life, right? You got to keep learning and keep trying to share that stuff.
Jake, I've been there too, brother. We can't sit here in glass houses and throw stones, right?
No.
We've all been there. Just because we didn't know, you just don't know what you don't know. And a lot of times we become victims of our culture, and that's what our culture taught us. And I've been there, and it wasn't until I went outside my sandbox and became a member of the fire service, not a fire department,
right?
Where I started understanding the world outside of me. Because it's hard to read the label from inside your own jar. You need somebody from the outside to read it for you. So I was out there looking at
I like that.
Yeah. So I was, I needed to get outside my jar to read the label. And we were doing shit wrong all the time, just like you just mentioned. So yeah, absolutely. The members inside are going to operate better knowing that they have a proactive RIT team on the outside. If I'm searching the second floor of a single family home, and I hear on the radio, because that's what our RIT teams do, the 2-3 side. I know you guys use 1, 2, 3, 4. We use Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta, right? So on the 2-3 side, there's a ladder on the window. Man, you just freaking gave me what I needed as far as confidence and mindset to maybe push a little further to get into that room, to finish my search, to do it right. Because I know the way that came in is a good way out, and I know that you just hooked me up with a ladder on the 2-3 side.
Right.
So you're a good RIT team. That's what you need to do. As far as deployment, our biggest enemy is time. And man, Ben Schultz, Ben Schultz has done such a great job highlighting time and teaching about how to reduce it and the importance of time being the common enemy on the fire ground. He's done it so eloquently. He does a great job with his class. And I'll tell you what, how do we cut down time in the RIT world? Through strategic geographic positioning on the fire ground. When I show up on scene, I'm going to set up my members who are assigned to RIT with the right equipment based on the construction at the right location with an identified entry point, with an identified backup entry point. And I'm also going to make sure that the location I choose, command is aware of. And that location is going to be based on nothing but amount of steps it's going to take me from location to interior. I am not going to stage with the incident commander. I'm not going to sit by his side. I'm not going to be in the front yard on the one side or the alpha side. I'm going to be where the members are incurring the highest amount of risk.
Right.
If the fire's in the 2-3 corner on the second floor and I got flames showing out of 2 windows and one's about to blow because she's chugging, and I know ladder 2's up there searching, I'm going to set up my RIT team on the 2-3 corner, and I'm going to identify an entry point and talk to my members. Listen, if and when they call a mayday, we're using that door or that window or that ladder. And that's where I'm going to be wide. I'm reducing travel and distance from deployment to contact with the down member. I serve no purpose to the people inside standing in the command post or standing in the front yard.
I've noticed a lot of firefighters, let's say, for example, Engine Company will open the front door and put a line in there. The truck company will almost, by default setting, go through the same door. The RIT team will think about that same door when they're setting up, like you said, on the front side. And I like to see where, truck companies do window-initiated searches. Why start right there where 2 firemen just went past? There's nobody there. Time of day, type of construction, go ahead and pick somewhere else that you think is most likely have survivable space, or you can create survivable space. I think that's a wonderful thing. But too many times we have that default setting, like I see an open door, that's where I'm going. And I think we got to snap ourselves out of that. And like you said, this is the door we're going to go through if something goes bad. This is where they're at. They're on the other side of here. Let's do that. Now, what do you think about having your own lines, hoses for RIT, like a separate engine altogether? Don't take a line off the first end pumper. What are your thoughts on that?
Off shooting from the hip. Okay.
Yes.
I'm aware, again, because I've tried to stay up to speed with what people are doing around me. I am aware of departments in Florida, which is where I'm from, that mandate RIT teams to deploy a hose line. Mm-hmm. Okay. Again, I am also aware of the fact that I can't hold my breath that long if I'm the down firefighter without air. Mm-hmm. And then I'm also aware of the fact that stretching a hose line into the structure, if you're coming to get me, if that's the intent of the hose line, as a search line or a line to me or to protect me from fire. I think rapid and RIT teams should be rapid. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to give you a very not dishonest answer, for lack of better terms. I want to be honest when I'm talking to you. So yeah, I don't like the idea, because if I am engaging members in suppression activities, or if I'm using that hose line to go in to get the down member to protect him once I reach him, that's not my target. It really isn't. I think a RIT team needs to be fast. Hose line's going to slow me down. And furthermore, RIT teams need to be good searchers. And searching is a truck company operation. Right. If you cannot search, you should not be on RIT, because you're searching for the most valuable thing you've ever looked for outside of your family and your kids. It's a brother fireman.
Absolutely.
If you can't find me, you're fucking useless to me. Right? So the first thing we need to make sure is that the members that are on the RIT team are efficient at the art of searching. They need to be fast. They need to be mobile. They need to do, not take oriented searches. They need to maintain themselves within voice contact, and they need to move. Yes. I hate seeing a bunch of dudes walking in there living on a 3-inch screen, moving 1 foot at a time with a camera in front of them. And they're in this freaking giant 10 by 10 room, but they're looking at it 3 inches at a time, because that's what that camera does to you. There's a place for it. I think the company officer should sit in the background on the tick and watch his men work. Yeah, and monitor the conditions. Exactly. Monitor the conditions, environment, egress points. Are we going from carpet to tile? Did I pass a couch? Did I pass a window? If I pass the window, let me look outside and make sure that where I'm thinking I'm at is where I'm actually at. I think I'm on the 2 side. Let me take a quick peek. I am on the 2 side. Cool. That helps me calm down and it keeps me oriented, keeps me moving, especially if I'm working in limited visibility. And now that couch and that carpet to tile that I just passed becomes my breadcrumbs in case I got to bail. Shit goes bad, conditions change. I got to go from tile to carpet because I know I'm going in the right direction. Right. These are all things I need to understand. You can't become so technology oriented that you forget the basics of firemanship. We need to be able to search to find our downed member, which is why, the whole hose line assigned to the RIT team as a must, it really doesn't do it for me unless you're in a part of the country where you're limited in staffing and you need those members on a hose line. Because if I've also heard from the engine guys, if you put the fire out, the guy can walk out and you can cancel the RIT. I get it. You put the fire out, there's no more RIT. I get it. Yep. But man, we're not calling a RIT because everything's cool. We can put the fire out. Shit's already gone bad. Anytime. I'm going to go back to Ben Schultz again. Mm-hmm. I mentioned the guy twice today, so I'm going to text him later and let him know that I mentioned him on your show. All right. But yeah, the focus is time, and anything that slows me down, I don't want on my person anymore.
Makes sense. It makes absolute sense. I'm a little bit torn. I think if RIT is going, and I'm doing like you, I'm just kind of thinking about it now. I don't really have a set answer, but if RIT is going to go in and they're fast movers, right? High speed, low drag. They go in there. There's nothing to say that incident commander, which I kind of want to get to here in a little bit about the importance of a good incident commander on a Mayday assignment, could easily say, get a line in that window in case they need it. They know it's in the window they just came out of. God forbid. So the RIT team doesn't have to deal with it, but now they've got something that they know they can get to if they need it. But what I was going to get to about incident commander, so I know for a fact that some departments don't have the personnel and the resources to do RIT like you and I would probably write on a piece of paper. So now you're going to be the incident commander, Mr. Ramirez. I'm on Engine 1, and Engine 1 is one of your best engines. Everybody on here is high speed, good firefighters. We go in, all right, and then now your second in Engine Company, you make them your RIT, and they're not the best. They're overweight. They don't know much about their tools. They're really just waiting for that retirement.
Yep, I got you. You'll have them.
As an incident commander, do you let that ride, or what do you do? Limited resources, go-getters are on the inside, duds are on the outside as your RIT.
And it happens in every fire department. You're saying we're being completely honest and forthright.
Yes,
happens
sir.
in my own departments too. It happens everywhere I've worked or taught. We all have them. Later in our career, some guys that just check out. Man, the right answer is no, right? But it's not an on-scene solution. It's not something I can fix tonight. That's something you need to work on culturally with your fire department throughout a member's entire career, through training programs, through specialized assignments, if you have the staffing or availability, through a county-wide assignment system. We've actually considered the county I work in has 26 fire departments, right? And I might be off. It might be 23 now.
23 different fire departments?
23 different cities with 23 different career fire departments. Some
what
of them
county
have
is that?
This is Broward County.
Okay.
Okay. Between Miami and West Palm.
Okay.
So Fort Lauderdale. Okay. So outside of Fort Lauderdale Fire Department, there's another 22 or 24, give or take. The number changes constantly of fire departments, paid career. The problem is that a lot of them don't have the resources and staffing necessary to get 17 members as a requirement on a fire ground for a first due fire. So the mutual aid is popular, where it is not as popular in Palm Beach County or in Miami-Dade County. Okay, so what happens when you have a bunch of different agencies that are limited in resources is that those things that you just mentioned, it becomes an oversight. You have to use what you have. unless you create a training system that allows you to train everybody in your fire department. Let's say a 40-hour RIT class. A 40-hour RIT class that starts with some form of like entry exam where you have to do a basic firemanship class in order to get that certification. Now, the members that finish that class hold that certificate, and they can ride on a unit that dispatch can mark as a RIT team on our call matrix. So if your department gets a fire, goes 1 alarm or 2 alarms, the neighboring city has such and such truck, which the members are trained on specifically RIT, and they're able and capable to reproduce those skills under stress and dispatch. We've actually been looking at that in our county, where we're looking at putting, and we talked about that today in our meeting, we're looking at creating these squads within every fire department in our region to stage geographic squads. And they're not going to meet like the Northeastern FDNY squad definition, where it's suppression that does confined space, collapse, hazmat, or whatnot. It's basically an engine company that's done a 40-hour rapid intervention course, and they've been signed off by the authority having jurisdiction for that department or that agency, and then added to the countywide dispatch system. So if my department has a 2 alarm, 3 alarm, or 1 alarm, and I need an additional suppression for RIT, I get that specific unit from the neighboring agency. And we'll spread them out throughout the county geographically so that there's always one available or around us to get them on scene at a fire to provide good and rapid real-world training. So you're going to get rid of those retirees and those slugs and the pretenders and those those yard gnomes that don't take RIT seriously because, hey, it's never happened, so why would it happen today? There isn't an answer for your question. In the real world, we're going to have to use them. You're going to have to use them. If I had a choice to not use them, I'd definitely take that choice, but something is better than nothing. Yeah, and I'm going to start focusing on getting my members, the member who's in the Mayday, giving him everything he or she needs to get themselves out of the situation, or the members operating inside the building around them to them. But that RIT team, man, sometimes, and I know that the audience that watches your podcast, is very broad. So I don't want to be that guy that says, I'm working in an area that's resource rich and logistically rich, so we're going to figure it out. I'm not that guy. I work in an area that needs help from outside agencies. So we're still in the learning process. And yes, I'm guilty as charged. I've sat in the front yard in the past and hated my assignment and not done anything for the members inside. And I'm ashamed of myself for that. Right. Now, hindsight being 20/20. And I'm also the guy that's looked over my right shoulder and thought to myself, man, I hope nothing happens because I'm going to have to sign engine so-and-so to RIT. Yes. And they freaking suck.
You know what? That's exactly what I was getting at. You just summarized it perfectly. You're in the fire and you hear, hey, engine 11, you're going to be RIT. And you're like, fuck, engine 11? Yeah, exactly. Oh, my God. They've still probably got chocolate around their mouth and a drumstick in their coat and stuff.
And their tires are square. Yeah. Right? Absolutely, bro.
You also said something. You're the king of quotes. You're right up there with Jacob Johnson. Do your damn job. Yeah. But one of the ones you said, and I hope I'm getting this one right, you said there's different levels to this game, and you get to choose what level you want.
Dude, there are different levels to this game. And listen, at first I heard it, and I'm like, you know what? Humility is such an important thing to have at any level of leadership. And then I thought to myself, you know what? So is honesty. Mm-hmm. And honestly, honesty is so much more important in my mind than faking humility. I get it. Dude, I'm not my own best rescuer. I've said that in every show I've ever been on, any opportunity I've had to teach anywhere in the country. I am not my own best rescuer. I know dudes all over this country that I would want to come get me or my kid before I tap myself on the shoulder, right? Just because I understand that keeps me growing and keeps me learning. And if I'm ever at the level where I think like, I'm my own best rescuer, and then it's time to tap out. You know what I mean? I don't want to be that guy. Or go find a better room because the room I'm in absolutely sucks and no longer challenging. But yes, what you said is absolutely true. Man, there are levels to this game. We're all at different levels. It's just like any professional sport. There's people that are on the bench. There's people that are offensive linemen, and there's quarterbacks. We can't all be quarterbacks. So you get to choose your level, though. Mm-hmm. You don't walk into the fire service day one and someone says, hey, you're going to be on the bench though your whole career and you just got to take it. Absolutely not, dude. Nobody went out and drafted you. Nobody went out and chose you. You came in, you applied, they hired you. You went through the same process we all did. Now, when you get there, choose your training correctly. Associate yourselves with the right people. Do the right work. If you do the right shit, a mentor will find you.
Yeah.
You don't need to go out and chase mentors. They will find you because we're always watching. They're always watching. And it doesn't need to be someone in your department. It can be somebody from afar. Most of the people that I deal with that I consider mentors are either retired or live in a totally different part of the world that I do. And
Really?
I reach out to them all the time. Absolutely.
Well, let's give them a shout out.
Freaking
Give us a shout out for some of these mentors.
Man, these guys are home runs. I have an elevator guy, Mike Posner. He's retired, living in Tennessee. I got Rick George on the Mayday Mindset stuff. Guys from all over the country. You name them. I use Engine Company stuff. I got guys that I use for that too. The Bill Gussins of the world, the Mike Salzanos of the world down in Fort Lauderdale. These guys are home runs, man. I have no shame in reaching out to them because, God, they reached out to somebody that reached out to somebody. And so why not? Why absolutely not? Long answer to your short question, dude, is that I know. I'm sorry. I'm a talker, Jake. I'm sorry, man.
Dude, I'm enjoying this. No, you don't even worry about it.
There are levels to this game. We're not all at the same level. You get to choose your level. And the best part about it is that the science is what it is. Your brain cannot understand through through mental rehearsals if I'm forcing a door at 2 a.m. or at 2 p.m. at a fire. If I'm forcing a door at 2 p.m. At training or at 2 a.m. at a fire. If I'm throwing a ladder behind my firehouse at 1 p.m. or at 1 a.m. at a fire, your brain cannot tell the difference. It's just another ladder throw. It's just another door force. Mm-hmm. Whether or not you get that throw right or that force right is up to you. You get to choose your time to train. You get to choose your conferences. You get to choose your podcast. You get to choose who you listen to. You get to watch YouTube. Today's fire service has so much information.
Yes.
And the posters out there, they're drowning in information and they're starving for wisdom. So make sure that what you get is from the right source and is, fully data driven and street vetted, and you'll be okay. But man, you don't have to stay at the level you're at because we're not all at the same level. I promise you we're not.
No, I love what you said. It's data driven. It really is. But if you think about it, if you look behind the numbers, somebody's gotten hurt. Somebody's gotten scared. Somebody's gotten killed. And a friend of mine once said, firefighters' blood isn't free. It's our job to learn from what happened so it never happens again. We shouldn't have the same thing happen twice, basically. And that's where that data comes in. If you're not looking at the data, if you're not changing what you do, then you're fucking up.
100%, bro.
I cannot stand when I talk to officers, company officers, and they say, I'll do, man, if my sergeant or my pipeman goes down, I'll move heaven and earth to get him. I'm like, yes, but you've been watching TV all day. You're probably 50 pounds overweight. Haven't seen a training report from you in weeks, but you would do anything to get him. The best thing you can do is never put him in that situation to begin with, is train, is to be ready to do your damn job. That's what people want you to do. When people call 911, I don't care who calls 911, in what state, what county, anywhere in the United States. They think they're going to get top tier, number one, Delta Force firefighters every time. And we owe it to them to be the best that we can be. So when we jump off the rig and we're not already out of breath, we're not trying to figure out how to button this up and button that up and where our shit's at in our gear. We're professionals. We take a paycheck that says we're professionals. Now we got to earn that paycheck.
God, you had so many awesome points right there. That was a freaking mouthful, man. Good job, bro. I'll drink to that.
There you go.
I'm going to circle back to what you said, though.
Please.
That member, man, we all have them. If you guys, when this gets out there, if you're a young guy watching or listening, and you have those senior guys in your fire department that they're just not into the job, or they're like you just said, if one of my guys goes down, I'll move heaven and earth and bulldoze through walls. The answer is no.
Nope.
It's not going to happen. Shame on them for thinking that they're going to be able to do that. Shame on them if they think they're going to show up to the Super Bowl on Sunday and play a professional team. You're not at that level, bro.
No.
You're not.
They've chosen their level. They've chosen their level.
They've chosen their level, and they've also chosen what they're going to live with the rest of their lives when they can't get their buddy out.
I know.
They're creating their own scars.
So I was part of a line of duty death. As a matter of fact, it was this month in the night. It was back in the 90s. Chuck Williams passed away. That's what 646 is right there. There's me, and I want to say my memory's getting a little wiggy. I don't know if it was 4 or 5 of us down in the basement trying to get him up a ladder because he fell through a burned floor. Him and Jerry Ray fell through a floor. But anyway, when we were down there, I'll never, ever forget, 4 or 5 of us could not pick him up off the ground. We tried, and then I remember them saying, all right, stop. Let's do 1, 2, 3. Everybody grab 1, 2, 3. We still couldn't move him. And we didn't have a plan. He had already passed away. I do know that. We didn't have a plan. We tried everything we could with everything we knew at the time. And I was down there with some go-getters. So when I train RIT, and I hear people say, look, this is training, but if the real shit happened, I know I could do it. I could flip over a car if I wanted to. And I'm here to tell you from experience. I've been in a basement. I'm part of a club that I don't want any membership of, right? And none of us could move even a little bit. A 200-plus firefighter, full gear, soaking wet, that couldn't help us at all. Couldn't. So I call bullshit when people say that. You can hope that. You can think you're level 4, but you're level 1. I'd rather you just say I'm level 1 and be level 1. Then I know what I'm dealing with.
100%. First and foremost, sorry for your loss, brother, and here's to the down firemen.
Chuck and Brenda. Lexington lost 2 firefighters at 2 different times, but they were both murdered in February, so it's a tough month for Lexington Fire Department.
Jesus Christ, man. I'm so sorry, brother. But yeah, if you're not going to rise to that occasion, you're really, really not. It's data driven. It's been proven over and over and over again. We're going to react how we're going to react. You may think you want to move everything, but unpurposeful action is worse than no action at all. Mm-hmm. You'd probably be best fit to just get out of the way and let the professionals work. Right. If you got a 2-year kid that just came back from some high-speed conference with some high-speed instructors who understand human behavior, psychology, physiology, and he's been practicing it, man, get out of the way. You're serving us no purpose. If you think you're going to grab a leg, it happens over and over again. What you just told me right now, sadly, is so common, and I've heard the story over beers in every freaking place that we go to. One guy, he gets in there, the down fireman, it's the guy that you were with your entire career, someone you know by name, someone whose wife and kids you know, and now you want to help. You're in zero visibility, your heart rate's jacked, and you're grabbing him to get him out, and you're pulling in 3 different directions. Going on 3. Are we going on 3? Are we going after 3? Are we going on 2?
Yeah.
And that becomes pull him this way. Which is this way? My left. Well, is your left, or is your left my right? So you're pulling one leg one way, one arm the other. I've heard this over and over and over again. Movement and action that is not purposeful in that environment is worse than no action at all, man. So when we do any type of firefighter Mayday training, we understand that words matter. We use words that require no orientation, no visualization. We use words and we use them 3 times, similar to pilots and ships that go down. When they call their Maydays or their SOS, they call them 3 times because the first time the human brain hears it, unexpectedly, it does not react to it. The second time it hears it, it almost reacts to it, but it primes it to listen. It's like a preparatory command. Did he say Mayday? Hey, he didn't say Mayday. Holy shit, he said Mayday. It takes 3 times. When we get to a victim, it's victim, victim, victim. Why? Because the first time, I didn't hear it. I don't give a shit if I was listening. Just because you're listening doesn't mean you're hearing. It's called auditory exclusion. Right. It happens. And so we're all going to be in that condition, especially if we're going after a buddy. Again, I don't care where you're at in your career or what your rank is or what your tenure is. It doesn't matter, guys. You're not going to figure it out on game day. I promise you that.
Yes.
Get in your gear. Get out there and train. Understand your limitations. Be honest with yourself. And you owe it to those members, man. I work for 6 awesome dudes. I'm their captain. I also work for their wives, their girlfriends, and their kids, and their future kids. It is my responsibility to them to be prepared and to prepare them to rescue themselves. If you stop taking that serious, if you don't feel it anymore, do everyone a favor and take a step down, because you do not belong in that seat. Yep. I promise you don't, man. I promise you.
I agree.
Breaks my heart when I hear that.
It's terrible. And, I always think about making the perfect fire department and the perfect firefighter. If you could start from the ground up and you could literally build your department with equipment, what people, what everything, the hard question you have to ask yourself is, let's say I'm building my department. Okay. I'm building the best. I'm handpicking the best, everything. Would you be one of the ones that I picked? And if you were honest with yourself, there's times in my career, no one would pick me. There's times where they might pick me. But I think if you take a hard look at yourself, if you're, what is it? Ty Rondo calls them, recliner pilots. He calls it, if you're a recliner pilot, just do yourself, especially if you can retire, because you getting that paycheck every 2 weeks for being a piece of shit and somebody gets killed in the fire, I promise you that money's not going to be worth it. Promise you.
Not at all, man.
It's too
Not
serious. And you said it best. You know, the shit that never happens all the time, and you don't want it to hit you at all.
You know, what is it that NASA talked about during the Challenger, our Discovery? I forgot what shuttle it was that was coming in. That normalization of deviance.
Deviance, yes.
You know, that normalizing deviance. We get so lucky so often that we start feeling that what we're doing is right as a fire service.
Right.
You know, or we self-justify why the fire took so long to get put out, or why the victim got pulled out and they weren't salvageable, or why the space is not searchable, or you get there and you pull a dead person out, yet you were on scene for a good 10 minutes before you found the person. Man, we self-justify what we're doing to make ourselves feel better. It's very unfortunate that normalization of deviance, we get lucky so often that we start feeling like we're right.
Right.
Eventually, you're going to end up getting bit in the ass. It's no different than getting pulled over after you kind of stroll through that stop sign every day to work for 15 years and the guy pulls you over. You can't be pissed off at that guy. You're still wrong. Just because he hasn't pulled you over in 15 years and now he got you, it started feeling right and normal. It's a study. It's out there. We do that so often in the fire service, you know, and we celebrate with post-fire pictures. And I look at these guys. I'm on the internet, you know, so I look at it. I'm not going to lie. I'm on Instagram and all the social media sites. And I love when buddies of mine post pictures of fires. And I especially love when I see a bunch of dudes standing in front of a burnt out house and they're celebrating it, just because it blows my mind, man. There's that, you know, just because the fire ran out of shit to burn is not an act of celebration. Yeah. There's no reason to celebrate. You know, it ran out of fuel, bro. You just happened to be there. But yeah, and it happens so often. And in our world, the world of Mayday, writ, and survival, there's so little room for error and so much consequence psychologically and physically for that family or the member who's not going home. And for you, if you just give 1% of a shit as to, you know, your mental sanity, like going home and knowing, man, I wish I was better. I wish I was more prepared. I'm going to hit a quick story real quick and I'll let you move on. I have a buddy of mine I'm sorry.
We're good, buddy. You do you. Nobody's
listening.
Nobody clicked on the button to hear this to listen to me. They saw Robert Ramirez and they want to talk to you.
Not at all, man. I just love to talk shop. You know, I love this stuff. I'll talk to myself all day if I could. But I had a buddy of mine one time tell me, I was at the firehouse, long story short, listening to a fire in a neighboring city. And I heard my buddy's ladder truck go arrival. I heard him go arrival, get assigned search, and go in and do the search. Shortly after, I heard him say that he had found a infant victim in one of the back bedrooms, again, like on the 2-3 corner or the 3-4 corner. I don't remember. It was a couple of years ago. He's the chief officer now. Then whoever was in command asked him to bring the victim out to the one side or the alpha side because there was EMS was on scene waiting for the victim. Mm-hmm. And to which he responded, "Negative, chief. Meet me around back." And it got my attention just like it did yours right now.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, why would so-and-so say negative, meet me on the 3 side or on the Charlie side? And I'm like, that makes no sense. Why would he say that? And I've known him for a long time. He actually teaches with me a lot. And I'm like, man, so that caught my attention. And then I heard him say negative, bring him out alpha side, rescue or EMS on standby. He came back and said, negative, chief, face-to-face with me on the Charlie side. Now he's out of the building. I can hear he's off air. Right. So I talked to him. I gave it all night. Waited till the next morning, shot him a text, and I said, "Hey, what's up with that fire last night, bro? Are you good?" ? And I was expecting a text in response, but he called me instead. He happened to be driving home too, and he told me that when they got to the back bedroom, they came across an infant, a couple weeks old, burnt beyond recognition, in his crib. The mother and the father were in the front yard.
Oh,
and he did not want to bring it out to the family. He knew there was no purpose in bringing that child out. It's been gone.
Right.
It was unrecognizable. And so he told the chief that on the backside. So that's that part of the story. Here comes the mental health component and the mindset component of what we were just touching up on not being prepared and how it's going to affect you on a down firefighter if you're the one that has to go get them. And you think that you have all these heroic powers you're going to pull on to make this happen. This is what my buddy told me. So I said, hey, so are you good with it? And I'm asking him if he's good with it, with his decision making. And this is what he told me. It taught me a very big lesson. He said, Rob, we went on arrival. We positioned the truck correctly. My guys and I masked up on the way to the door. We forced the door, and we're inside in under 1 minute and 30 seconds. We made contact with the victim in almost less than 2 minutes. I wouldn't change a thing. The outcome was decided before I got there.
Wow.
And that's why today when I go home, I'm perfectly okay and I couldn't be prouder of my crew, despite the outcome. So when we hung up, I thought to myself, Jake, what if he was that crew that didn't get there the right way, didn't take the right routing, didn't position the truck right, didn't mask up accordingly, couldn't force the door, missed him on the first search? What if he was that crew? Because he's jacked and psyched and sucks at his job.
Right.
And now he gets to this burnt kid that he can't bring out to the front yard. All the what ifs start going through your head. What if I got there sooner? What if I got my mask on sooner? What if I parked right? What if I taught these guys last Sunday to force doors instead of sitting here and eating potato chips all day?
Yeah.
You know, all those things start freaking bouncing around that noggin of yours, and it eats away at your freaking core. He had none of that happening because of his level of preparedness and the way his members performed.
Right.
Despite the outcome. And that's a huge component. I love it.
He's probably in the minority, though, wouldn't you say? That obviously this guy is high speed, low drag, and his crew is too. So to your point, there's nothing he would have done different. Now, how many people have you seen or talked to, brother firefighters, that have pulled people out? They might be burned. Maybe they're not dead. They're alive, and the guys are happy with what they did because the outcome was the victim was alive, and they're less likely to second guess themselves. Me personally, go back to it and say, what if I got there sooner and I was more efficient at my search? Would they have come out even better? No burns, not even smoke, choking or anything. And I think too often, some of the people I've talked to, if somebody comes out of that building, dead or alive, hopefully alive, they feel like they did their job, did it well. When in fact, I know I've seen some things where I'm like, well, you took a long time to go in and you did this, you did that. Yeah, they're alive, but what could we have done different to make it better? I always bring up this, and Nick Peppard, I'm going to text him after this. He said something to me that has burrowed into my brain, and I share it often because I don't know what that bomb is for, but when I feel like I need to tell it, I'm telling it. So in our podcast, he talks about how him and his officer saved somebody, and everybody's getting him high fives. Hey man, good job. And he was upset with himself because he wasn't more efficient. He wasn't as in shape as he should have been. His skills maybe weren't as sharp as he wanted them to be. And although the outcome was the guy was alive and fine, he was upset with himself. That's a true brother firefighter right there. That's a guy that analyzes every victory just as much as he analyzes, every defeat. And I think that's, to me, he's way up here as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. That's a professional at his job.
Yep.
And those are the guys you want on your job. I have never had a fire till this day that I wouldn't want to go another crack at.
Yep.
There isn't a fire that we've been to in my entire career that I wouldn't say I would do something different at.
Right.
And that's the mindset we should all keep. I've never left a fire and thought to myself, and you know what? It sucks because it takes the enjoyment out of it. And then when you become a company officer and then a senior company officer, you got to be very careful that post-fire reaction you have with your members. For people like you, for people like Nick, even the way that I feel at times where I'm like, man, I'd like to get another crack at that. And the guys are like, dude, that was a home run. That was awesome. We did great. Everything went perfect the way we talked about, the way we trained. And I'm still like, oh, no, you weren't here on time. I wasn't there on time. We were out of position. We weren't ready, or I didn't feel right. Very few fires I've ever had that I'm thinking to myself, that was a freaking home run. I never want to do that again. That doesn't happen.
No. I had a captain tell me, I was telling him that some of the training things that we're going to come up with, and it was going to be, and I used an example. I said, so one of the things we're going to be doing is practicing hose movement and really getting our hose movement down better. And he's like, well, I'm on a truck company. I don't do a lot of hose movement, so I shouldn't be worried about practicing that. And that's all fine and well, but here's the part that got me. He said, besides, if I practice hose movement, I might gain just a few seconds. And he meant it. I couldn't say anything for a couple seconds. I was like, yeah, that's the point. Yeah. Save a couple seconds. If you practice masking up faster, you'll save a couple seconds. You do that enough, a couple seconds will turn into a minute. And I'll tell you what, if you're in a hot fire, minute's a long fucking time.
Absolutely. How long can you hold your breath, Cap?
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. We have those guys everywhere, and God bless them. They don't understand the why. They just see it as a thing they have to do on top of everything else that we're asking them to do, or they feel like it's beneath them, right. Which is human nature, which is the reason why kids are able in kindergarten, first, second, and third grade to learn to speak and write and learn languages, is because they have no sense of self-importance.
Right.
And the older we get in life, the more self-important we subconsciously become, and less coachable and teachable we are.
Right.
And it takes a conscious effort daily to make yourself coachable the longer you do this job. Because this job is so centered around the kitchen table, seniority, tradition, time on the job. And, and it's now morphed into people like us that understand that years of employment don't equal years of experience.
No, seniority and experience are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
One's a first wife and one is your current wife.
Hey, I love that. I love that. That is great. Yeah, it's a true story. These guys need to understand that seconds matter, and then maybe they just don't. I always try to give a student the benefit of the doubt, because we get that all the time. I'm so honest with the students when I talk to them. I try never to teach to them. I'm trying to teach with them, for lack of better terms. I want to be part of this solution with you, and they'll talk to me because of that, and they'll be like, "Hey, Rob, dude, this is bullshit. Are you fairy dusting me right now?" It's a word I use all the time. Like, I'm not going to fairy dust you with some pixie dust and tell you this is going to work if it's not. Right. And they're like, I'm like, I promise you, if you ever feel like you're being fairy dusted during any of our classes, let me know, and I'll tell you the why behind it. So if you come up to me and tell me, Rob, why are you making me put this mask on 46 times today? And you keep timing me. I'm like, dude, because it matters. Because before you get into the search, you need to mask up. Before you get into the fire suppression, you need to mask up. Before you make that corner, go beyond your pre-connector, break that hose line, or throw that ladder, or make that VES, or get to that door, you have to mask up. And seconds matter. How long can you hold your breath? We're in the best gear money can buy, fully encapsulated and protected. We're not sitting in the freaking bedroom in our jammies, laying on the ground, 160 degrees, waiting for somebody to come get us with fire blowing over our head out a window.
Yep.
All right? That's the reason that seconds matter. You got to act when you're getting dressed like it's your kid in the bottom of that pool and you're watching somebody put on some scuba gear to go get them.
Right.
All right? How long are you willing to stand around with your 2-year-old in the bottom of that pool watching Rob mask up and fumble fuck his clean cab truck on your front yard?
Yeah.
No good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do want to, before we go, I want to ask you something, because I thought this was super cool. I don't know that I've ever heard it, and if I have, I forgot it. Tell me about your gear and where you carry stuff, how you carry stuff, and why you carry what you carry.
Okay.
Because this shit is good. This shit is good.
All right. So it goes back to purposeful action, easily reproducible under stress, and efficient, right?
Right.
So everything we do needs to follow some kind of of system. The Mayday mindset is all about systems, and those systems all follow algorithms that tell us the data speaks volumes. It tells you, listen, if we're looking at NFPA reports, we're looking at UL studies, we're looking at NIOSH reports, they give you the usual suspects. The NFPA reports, calculate the losses. Chief Brush up in the Midwest, with his Oklahoma study a couple of years ago, started calculating the winds. Then you have freaking Firefighter Rescue survey. They're doing big things as well up in Oklahoma. Those guys are a home run. And then now you have, Chief retired Captain Abbott out in Arizona doing the Project Mayday that everybody's using.
Yep.
These things all tell us what the numbers are. So if I understand the numbers, why would I not focus on the numbers and create skills that focus A, on the numbers, and B, on the person that I'm going to be the day of my Mayday, which is my main goal in every class that we teach, is not to teach the students sitting in front of me right now, because my God, there are so many classes out there, RIT, Mayday, and Rescue, and this, that, the other, that are teaching firefighter, rescue, Mayday, RIT operation skills to firefighters, but focusing on the firefighter sitting in front of them that day, as if they were going to be at a heart rate of 60 at a fire tower with their buddy, thinking about going to drink after the conference the day of their Mayday. The day of their Mayday is the absolute worst day of their life. Again, they are in a knife fight in an elevator, gun to their head, never going back to their wife or kids. And we need to focus on that. So whenever we do any type of Mayday training, and this is why I'm talking about my gear right now,
right,
is I need to focus on who I'm going to be the day of my Mayday. I understand the day that I call a Mayday, God forbid, I am not going to be able to think where my shit is. There's data out there that tells me down firefighters usually end up either on their bellies or on their side, very rarely on their back because of the SCBA tank on our back. Mm-hmm. So understanding that I'm going to be on my belly or on my side tells me where I need to keep my gear, keep the tools that I need for my gear. Furthermore, understanding that a lot of the data, when you look at NIOSH reports, when you look at F.E.M.A reports, the way the members were found, the body positioning, or the NIOSH reports of the near misses that tell you how they ended up getting trapped and then self-rescuing, they'll tell you they had access to maybe one or no hands at all because they were crawling in a high tripod or they were pushed down by heat on an all four and then that lights out, trapped, collapsed, or entangled. Mm-hmm. Okay, at that point, they need to be able to reach only what's here on their person. Anything below their belt buckle in their pant pockets or down the calves or anywhere else below if you have long bunker coats that you have to reach it down into your lower pockets, mm-hmm. It was mostly unaccessible to the members. So using that information, understanding the position I'm most likely going to be in, understanding how I'm going to be found, understanding that I may have a trapped arm or hand or no access to my hands. I'm going to be either on my side or on my belly. We created a system, and we talk about our area, our action area, our immediate needs area, and it runs basically from your heads-up display, if you're wearing something with it, or the top of your regulator, mm-hmm. if you do not have a heads-up display, down to your belt buckle on your SCBA, your automotive belt buckle on your whatever SCBA brand you wear. Everything you need to survive needs to be in that area. So a flashlight, we talked about the importance of the flashlight psychologically, mm-hmm. what it's going to do for your mindset in the chest area. A primary cutting tool in the chest area. A secondary cutting tool in the opposite side, lower area. So if I'm on my side and I can get to it good. If I'm on my opposite side, I can still get to it good. If I have one arm trapped, I can get to my lower one. If I have the other arm trapped, I can get to my top one. If I'm on my back and both my arms are trapped, then Jesus hates me and it's my time to go. Okay? Bad shit happens, bro. Right. We understood when we got to work the first day and they gave you a bunch of bunker gear and training that some shit may go down. Yeah. All right? It's not a safe job. Yeah. So if we're laying on our belly and I have access to my action area and I'm trying to reach my stuff, I want to make sure I have a flashlight, I have a cutting tool. Okay, I have my radio. The way we wear our radios is according to the Fairfax, Virginia study. Right. And I don't want to hear, I don't like wearing my strap. I don't like to carry it that way. I like to wear it outside my gear. I prefer to wear it inside my gear. The study is what the study is. You can stick to whatever your feelings are on the subject matter, but facts and data give zero shits about your feelings. All right? Yeah. And that's the truth. So the Fairfax, Virginia study told us the best way to carry our gear as far as getting signal out, and transmitting and protecting it from thermal insult or water or entanglement is inside under our bunker coat, remote mic, lapel mic out the front, sitting somewhere in your chest area so you can talk to the outside world. Your purge or bypass valve is up here. On a Scott air pack, which is what we wear, we have our heads-up display, which tells us the color of our lights, how much air we have. Okay, we have our communication systems on the side. So I'm traveling down my chest piece. I keep a flashlight in the upside down position for searches. It works easier for searches, but I have a flashlight on my person. Then I have a spring activated, self-opening cutter on my right chest. That self-opening cutter on my right chest needs to be spring activated. I use a long straight blade, okay, a set of good aviation or tin snips with some reinforced grip on it, a long loop that hangs outside of my pocket. On that loop, we put a glow-in-the-dark golf ball, and I'll explain why. And then moving down my person, all right, I keep the other shit that I don't need immediately in my lower pockets. My right leg is for me as my bailout kit, personal escape rope. My left leg is for them. Anything that I may need to help a buddy or a victim out is on my left leg, and I travel light. Getting back to the actual scissors. The scissors, why do they need to be spring activated? I expect to be in fight or flight. I expect to have loss of fine motor skills. I expect to have some form of injury. Okay? All those things. Tell me whenever you train, and if you look at case studies, NIOSH reports, line of duty deaths, I can go back as far as like 2000, and I want to say '01, with the city of Houston, Texas, had 2 firefighters, male, female, die in a McDonald's overnight at a roof collapse. They both died entangled. The male firefighter was found first about 20 to 25 feet from the back door of the McDonald's and removed. He unfortunately died from his injuries. The female firefighter was also found entangled the morning after they moved all the debris off of her. Both of them were found to be entangled with their cutters on the ground near them. One of them had partially disrobed and taken their air pack off in an effort to get out of the entanglement. Okay? Why do I say that? Because that case study leads me to carry 2 cutters in case I drop one, in case I drop the other. The cordage and the glow-in-the-dark rope is because invisibility, if I can find it, once I drop it, I fully expect to drop it. Because every time we do training, and we've been doing this for 12 years, students consistently in zero visibility, when they get a little bit jacked up, they drop their cutters. All right? If they drop their cutters, they need to be able to find them again with either a luminescent or glow-in-the-dark golf ball or strap. The strap, if you can picture my bunker coat having an actual pocket here, my cutter goes in there. I shut the flap on it, and the strap sits outside of my bunker coat with a golf ball. The reason that golf ball is there is because when I'm fully encapsulated in my fire or oven mitts, I have very little dexterity. Mm-hmm. If I understand that I'm losing fine motor skills and I got a bunch of roof on my back and I start doing this in zero visibility, everything feels mushy except my helmet, my face piece, my regulator, mush, remote gauge of my regulator. Your left, my right, mm-hmm. right? Pass device, and then I need to find that golf ball. Once I find that golf ball, because I'm not going to be able, with my fire gloves, to locate that pocket and crack the Velcro to get my cutter out, or reach into the pocket and get it when I'm on my belly. It's a physical impossibility. It's a 100% physical impossibility. That golf ball could be anything you want to put on there. We use a golf ball because we found them on Amazon. They glow in the dark and they work well. I drilled the hole through it, ran the cordage through it. And we feel it. It feels different than everybody else. I grab it. I deploy it and pop my Velcro like a ripcord.
Right.
If once I get that out, if I drop that, then I have an opposite one in my left lower pocket. So it doesn't matter which way I'm laying, I'm going to have access to it. The reason it's spring assisted is because if I'm cutting and I cut with my cutter, I need it to open in order to make the next cut. I cannot sit there and manually, with zero dexterity and lots of fine motor skills and zero visibility, open and close this thing.
Right.
The reason it is straight is because I want to get the most amount of bite so I can cut on the entire blade, not just the back of the blade. Okay? Mm-hmm. I also want to make sure I don't have a wire stripping notch on it. Those wire stripping notches at the back of it are a nightmare because if you get any type of entanglement, specifically that HVAC duct work, with the silver that goes over the drop ceilings and commercial properties. Mm-hmm. Once that thing burns off, the wire that holds that thing, the skeleton of it, it's a freaking nightmare, and it fits perfectly in that notch. So you'll try to cut it, and you won't be able to cut it because it'll sit in that stripping notch in the back of the tool. And if you for 1 second think that you're going to be able to zero visibility, think to yourself, oh, I'm at the stripping notch, let me move it over a quarter inch
You're
and
not.
make the cut. It's not going to happen, bro. Not wearing oven mitts. So my entanglement algorithm goes from spring-loaded cutters with luminescent tape, with glow-in-the-dark cordage, on a glow-in-the-dark golf ball for dexterity, with a backup device, down to I am right-handed. If I need to lose a hand, I'm losing my left. That's coming off.
Right.
And I'm giving my left hand burning it to a stump to get to my cutter. So I've already thought about my entire algorithm, which hand I'm removing in order to get my shit out. Because I don't want to be the guy who's there and can't feel it, and then I have no plan past I can't feel it.
Wow.
So so it goes all the way down to there. Even you're prepared to die algorithm, guys. You need to have systems for everything. Find a corner, suck carpet, unhook your regulator, stick it into your mask, fight the urge to rip your mask off to protect your airway, set off your pass device, self-convert, and hope that your buddies find you. At least you'll protect your airway. They won't have to package you. They'll get you off faster. And they'll be able to do something with you when they find you. Or at the very least, you'll get an open casket funeral. All right? But you have to have these plans. Dude, it's morbid.
Yeah.
It's morbid. But we're talking about firefighter rescue and survival. And you have to have plans for everything. Fighter pilots go through ejection sequence plans their entire career. Commercial pilots talk about crashing commercial airplanes in Delta. No one likes to talk about it, but it's part of their jobs. This is part of our jobs. This is the part of our job that nobody wants to talk about because everyone thinks they're going to work this beautiful 25, 30-year career and then exploit the pension until they die an old man in their bed.
Right.
That's a false reality.
I love it. I love that I don't know that I've ever had it put like that when it comes to that, to setting up your gear, you're planning for multiple failures. I mean, you're planning to not be able to think right. You're planning, depending on your orientation of which pocket has your stuff. You've doubled down on equipment. You've thought so. I've, again, never thought about this. Hard, mushy. That to me, it makes perfect sense. I love it. And then, like you said, and then your last algorithm, if you have to get down to suck carpet, you get down to suck carpet. Brilliant. I've never in my life thought of any of that stuff through that lens. I think it's amazing. It's amazing. I've got to take a class. I'll send you some money. I feel like you taught me something. I got to send you some money.
0%, bro. We constantly learn from each other. I just stay in my lane. This is what I love to do. We've been doing it for a long time. It makes sense to me. I'm not really that smart a dude. I really am not. I've learned this from, again, like the guys I mentioned before. They set the groundwork for it. I just understand that we actually have to have algorithms down to the end of life algorithm. Tell my wife and kids I love them. I'm out of air. Put my mask in there, fight the urge, take that last breath with the mask on to protect my airway so they can at least intubate me. Right? And then freaking convert myself, set myself up. I carry a pick-off strap, so I'm going to pick my pick-off strap myself if I can. If not, I'm going to do the old seatbelt conversion through my legs, make sure everything's nice and tight, find the corner to protect my airway in my face, and set my pass device off and hope my buddies find me. And that's the way I want to go out. And if they find me and pull me out and they're like, dude, it was a home run. We intubated you. We found you. We'd have to convert you. And then hopefully it worked out. If not, I get an open casket with a pretty face.
And great hair.
Well, it was still there, right?
Brother, I cannot tell you how much I've enjoyed this conversation. I wish we had about 7 more hours in it. But before we go, tell me about some conferences you'll be teaching at, and also tell me how people can get a hold of you and listen to your podcast and see the classes that you teach through your business.
Man, it is a very busy year already. The first half of this year is so busy. I'm having a kid in July.
Congratulations.
So thank you, brother. Appreciate it. After July, my schedule's going to come to a grinding halt.
There you go.
But we're going to the Orlando Fire Conference is in a week or so, I believe, the 19th or the 20th. After that, we're shooting straight up to Nick Peppard and doing the North Florida Fire Expo.
My boy.
With those guys there. Then we're going to Bears of the Oaths in Georgia with Shane Bentley and them. Then after that, we're doing MAFC, the Metro Atlanta Firefighter Conference, in May. We're all over the place. Then we're going we got Brush. We're going back up to Brush, Chief Brian Brush up in his apartment to do another class up there and sometime later on. Then we're going back to Oklahoma for the Fools Conference. We're all over. You can find me on social media, Facebook, Robert Ramirez. Only my ex-wife and my mom call me Robert. Everybody else calls me Rob. So, but real talk, you guys, it's Instagram. I work for National Rescue Consultants, so anything on the technical rescue side, nationalrescueconsultants.com, or just reach out to me. Give me a call. My email is captainrob1075@gmail.com. Guys call me all the time. They text me all the time. Or they reach out to me on Facebook Messenger or direct message on Instagram. We talk about gear and equipment. I'm extremely accessible. I consider this a blessing, the opportunity to talk shop with guys from all over the country. I love being a member of the fire service, not just the fire department. And I'm genuine as they come. Just a regular dude who loves teaching firefighter rescue, mayday, and survival. That's a wrap. That's basically everything you need to know about me.
Brother, thank you for being on my show. It's been a real treat for me.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me. Had a blast.
Today's podcast was sponsored by Fire Facilities, designers and manufacturers of realistic, built-to-last training structures and mobile units for 30 years. Make training count. Visit firefacilities.com for more information.